Hello students, hope all of you are doing well. So welcome back to your chemistry class. Today we are going to start chapter 5, that is language of chemistry. In this chapter you are going to study the new terms which we use in the chemistry. Or the language of chemistry. So all of you know very well that in our daily life we use abbreviations to save time and labor. Many of the abbreviation we use in our daily life like ASAP, as soon as possible. So in chemistry we also use abbreviations for the name of elements, compounds and some reaction. So it save the time and labor, and also it make the learning quick and easier. So we use abbreviations in the chemistry. So in this chapter we are going to study symbols, formulas, chemical reactions, how to balance the chemical reaction and all of these. So let's start one by one. The next topic is symbol of an element. So what is the symbol? Symbol is the short form of an element. Like in previous slide, we were talking about the abbreviation. So you can also say it's the abbreviation of an element or the short form of an element. So symbol has the qualitative and quantitative significance. So what is qualitatively significance? It represents the name of the element. By look the symbol, we identify the element. So it represents the name of the element, and quantitatively it represents one atom of the element and atomic weight. All of you know that we express atomic weight in AMU. AMU means atomic mass unit. So it is the measurement unit of atomic weight. We express atomic weight in AMU. For example, the symbol of carbon is C. So what is C represent? C represent the element carbon, that the carbon symbol is C, and it also represent one atom of carbon, and it also represent 12 parts by weight of the carbon, that means atomic weight. So these are the information we can get from the symbol. So symbol has the qualitative as well as quantitative significance. The next topic is how to write the symbols of an element. How can we decide the symbols of an element? So the first, there are certain rules. First rule is that we often represent the symbol of the element by taking the first letter of the element. Like you can see in the example carbon. So the first letter is C. So we give the symbol C. The nitrogen, first letter is N, so we give the symbol N, and for oxygen there is a symbol O. So we take the first letter of the name of the element. So this is rule first. And the second rule, if there is two letters, so first letter is capital and second is small. For example, cobalt, CO, C is capital and O is small. Same, nickel, N capital, I small, calcium, C capital, A small. So this is the two letter symbol. If there is two letters, so first letter will be capital and the second letter will be small. So this is the rule. Then we come to the rule third. The symbol of the element have been derived from their Latin names. Some symbols of the element derived from their Latin names, like sodium. The symbol of sodium is Na. It is derived from the Latin name natrium. The Latin name of the sodium is natrium. So the symbol is Na. Same like potassium, kalium, because the Latin name of the potassium is kalium. So the symbol is K. So one thing is very important here. We can give sodium the symbol S. But why not we give the symbol S to the sodium? Because symbol S represent the sulfur. If we give the S to the sodium, so there will be a confusion. So to avoid that confusion, some element symbol derived from their Latin names. That's why we give any symbol to the sodium, which is unique and which has taken from the Latin name. So to avoid the confusions, there are certain rules to give the symbol of an element. So there are three rules. You can understand very well by the help of example. So the next topic is valency. What is valency? In your previous classes you have studied about valence cell, So valency is taken from there. Valency is the combining capacity of an element. So it is the definition of valency, that valency is the combining capacity of an element. And the another definition is valency is the number of atom gaining, losing or sharing during a chemical reaction. Means any element, the number of atoms which an element loses, gain or share during a chemical reaction is called its valency. So there are certain examples by which you can understand the valency. So the first example is, it is numerically equal to the number of hydrogen atom combined with that element. So keep it in the mind that valency is numerically equal to the number of hydrogen atoms combined with that element. For example, methane. The formula of methane is CH4. So there are 4 hydrogen atom combined with carbon. You can see. So the valency of carbon is 4. According to rules, the number of hydrogen atom combined with that element is called its valency. So there is 4 hydrogen atom combined to carbon atom. So the valency of carbon is 4. The another example, we can take magnesium chloride. The formula of magnesium chloride is MgCl2. So the number of chlorine atom combined to that element is called the valency. Here you can see 2 chlorine atom combined with magnesium. So the valency of magnesium is 2. And the third rule, valency is numerically equal to double the number of oxygen atom combined with the element. Means double the oxygen atom. So keep it in the mind, it's double the oxygen atom. For example, if we take the example of magnesium oxide, the formula of magnesium oxide is MgO. So 1 oxygen atom combined with magnesium, and according to the rule, the valency will be double of oxygen atom. So oxygen atom is 1, so the valency of magnesium will be 2. So there are certain rule to find out the valency of the element. All of you keep it in the mind. If there is hydrogen atom, so it is numerically equal to the number of hydrogen atom. If there is chlorine atom, so it's again numerically equal to the number of chlorine atoms. But if there is oxygen atom, so it's double the number of oxygen atom. It is very important point. Remember this, that it is double of the number of oxygen atom. So we can find out the valency in that way. The next topic is valency of metals and non-metals. As I told you earlier, that the another definition of valency is the number of atom gain, lose or share during a chemical reaction is also called the valency. And every element try to achieve the octet, or to achieve the octet, element loses or gains the electron. So there is a octet rule, all of you know that the last shell has to be 8 electrons. So this is called the octet rule, and every element try to achieve its octet. So metal has a electropositive nature. It means metal always loses electron, and non-metal has electronegative character. That means non-metal always gain electron. So we can see by the example. For example, there is example of potassium or magnesium. So the valency of magnesium is 2. Why? Because the electronic configuration of magnesium is 282. The atomic number is 12. The configuration will be 282. That means last shell has 2 electron. And to achieve the octet, magnesium loses 2 electron. So the valency of magnesium is 2. Then we come to the example of non-metal like chlorine. So what is the electronic configuration of chlorine? 287. Because the atomic number of chlorine is 17. So there is 7 electrons in the last cell. To complete its octet, it gain 1 electron. So the valency of chlorine will be 1. Then we come to the monovalent elements. Elements having 1 valency we call monovalent. Elements having 2 valency we call it divalent. Elements having valency of 3 we call it trivalent, and same like that tetravalent. Elements having 4 valency. So here we can see the example. Monovalent elements, sodium and potassium. you know very well they loses one electron. Divalent, oxygen and magnesium because their valency is 2. Trivalent, nitrogen and phosphorus. And tetravalent, carbon and platinum. So these are the example of monovalent, divalent, trivalent and tetravalent. Then we come to the next topic, variable valency. So what is variable valency? Some elements show more than one valency, we call it variable valency. So why elements show variable valency? Because from one valency their characteristic cannot be defined. So they show more than one valency during chemical reaction. So the element which show more than one valency in different compound, we said it variable valency. For example, in iron oxide, valency of iron is 2, and in Fe2O3, that is also iron oxide, the valency of iron is 3. So you can see in both of the compound there is a different valency of iron. In FeO there is a valency 2, in Fe2O3 there is a valency of 3. So iron show variable valency. So it show different valency with different compounds. So we call it variable valency. Then we come to the topic radicals. What are radicals? Radical is an atom or group of atoms having a charge positive or negative and behave as a single unit. Simply we can understand radical is an atom or group of atoms having positive charge or negative charge and behave as a single unit in chemical reaction. For example, you can see ammonium radical NH4 plus 1. So it is positive radical. Chloride radical Cl minus, it is negative radical. Sodium radical Na plus. Carbonate radical CO3 2 minus. So radical can be positive or can be negative and behave as a single unit. So these are the example of the radicals. So there are two radicals, positive radical or negative radicals. Now we come to the next topic, types of radical. So there are two types of radical, acid radical and basic radical. So what is basic radical? Basic radical having positive charge. So the radical which has positive charge, we call it basic radical. For example, ammonium ion plus sodium ion, potassium ion, zinc ion, etc. So these all are the basic radical. So it is the basic definition that the radical which has positive charge is called the basic radical. Then acid radical, the radical having negative charge, we call it acid radical. Like chlorine minus, there is negative charge, fluorine minus, again there is negative charge, and carbonate ion. So two minus charges are there. So that all are the acid radical. So keep it in the mind. Radical having positive charge is basic radical and radical having negative charge is acidic radical. Then we come to the simple and compound radicals. What is simple radical? The radical which is made up of only one kind of atoms. Like chlorine, you see in the example chlorine, this is made up of only one kind of atom. Only chlorine atoms are there. So that is simple radical. Fluorine, only fluorine atoms are there. Same like sodium, only sodium ions are there. So these all are the simple radical. Then compound radical which is made up of two or more kind of atom. If there is two or more kind of atoms, so that will be compound radical. Example OH minus, you can see there is oxygen atom and there is hydrogen atom. Two atoms are there, two different atoms are there, oxygen atom and hydrogen atom. So it is compound radical because it is made up of two kinds of atom. Same carbonate, carbon atom and oxygen atom. Sulfate, sulfur atom and oxygen atom. Ammonium, nitrogen atom and hydrogen atom. So there are two different atoms. So these all are the compound radical. So these are the types of radical: acid radical, basic radical, simple radical and compound radical. So all of you keep it in the mind, the basic difference between these radicals. By the help of example, you are able to identify which radical is this. So keep it in the mind that radical having positive charge, basic radical, radical having negative charge, acid radical, and simple or compound. The radical made up of only one kind of atom is simple radical, and radical made up of two or more kind of atom is compound radical. Then we come to the next topic, chemical formula. So what is chemical formula? Chemical formula is a symbolic representation of molecule or a compound. Simple definition, that chemical formula is the symbolic representation of molecule of a compound. So what is the significance of chemical formula? It tells us the element forming a molecule. It indicates the number of atoms of each element present in the compound. It also indicates the fixed proportion by weight in which the elements are present. So these are the 3 points which are very important in chemical formula. Then we come to the writing the chemical formula. How can we write the chemical formula? So there are certain steps which we have to follow to write the chemical formula. The first step, the positive radical written first, then negative radical. You can see in the example Ca2 plus. So this is positive radical. So we should write Ca2 plus first, then O2 minus, because O2 minus is negative radical. So first step is positive radical written first, then negative radical. Then we come to the second step. The charges present on the top are interchanged and written on the base of the element. You can see in the example Ca2 plus O2 minus. So the charges are going to be interchanged. The charges of calcium will goes to oxygen, and the charge of oxygen will goes to the calcium, and we write it in the base of the element Ca2 and O2. Then the final step is taking the ratio of the charges Ca2O2. So 2 similar cancel, and the formula will be CaO. So what is the CaO? CaO is the calcium oxide, and the common name of calcium oxide is quicklime. So remember this. It is often asked by the name of the quicklime. So what is quicklime? Quicklime is nothing. It is calcium oxide. So the formula is CaO. So let's revise the steps. There are 3 steps to writing the chemical formula. First step, we write positive radical first, then we write negative radical. In step 2, we interchange the charges of the radicals and write in the base of the element. And the final step, we take the ratio of the charges and we get the final formula. So here we can see the other examples like calcium chloride. How can we write the formula of calcium chloride? So first we write the positive radical, this is Ca2 plus, then we write negative, chlorine minus 1. Then we interchange the charges. So the charge of chlorine will goes to calcium, and the charge of calcium will goes to chlorine. So Ca1 and Cl2 2. The one thing is very important, when we interchange the charges, we don't write the plus and minus. So it is very important point to write the chemical formula and keep it in the mind. When we are going to interchange the charges, we never write plus or minus sign. We write only the charges. Like you can see in this example, calcium is plus 2 and chlorine is minus 1. When we going to interchange Ca1, Cl2, we just interchange. We don't write the sign plus or minus. So the final formula is CaCl2. One valency or one charge, there is no need to write. So CaCl2 is the final formula of calcium chloride. It's very easy. In your book, there are number of examples given there. So go through it and practice it. If you are practice this example, so you will be perfect doing this. This is nothing. This is very simple method. Just follow the steps and you can write the formula. Like sodium thiosulfate, we can see another example. So we write positive radical first, sodium plus 1, then negative radical S2O3 minus. Radicals you have to learn. In your book there is a list of radical. The positive radical and negative radical, the list has given in your book. So you have to remember the radicals. After that you can make the formula. So learn it by your heart, and it is very easy to make the formula. So the valency of we interchange the valency. So the valency of thiosulfate is 2, so Na2 it goes to sodium, and the valency of sodium will goes to thiosulfate, so 1. So if there is no right to 1, no need to write 1. If there is nothing that you can understand, the charge is 1. So we interchange the charges and making the formula Na2S2O3, that is sodium thiosulfate. If you remember the positive and basic radicals, positive negative radical, so you can easily make the formula. It's very easy. So just go through it. The next topic is chemical equation. So what is chemical equation? Chemical equation is the symbolic representation of any chemical reaction. If we write the word equation into symbols, so it's become chemical equation. So there are the certain rules, or there are the certain ways to write the chemical equation. Like there are reactants and products. So what are reactants and products? The substance which take part in the chemical reaction are called reactant, and the substance which are formed or produced after the chemical reaction is known as product. So there are two terms, reactants and products. So then writing a chemical equation, we write the symbols of the reactant on the left hand side and the symbols of the product on right hand side. So reactant will be left hand side and products will be right hand side, and we separate reactants by the sign of plus. So what is the mean of plus sign? The mean of plus sign is react. It indicates that two reactants are going to react each other. So we put plus sign between two reactants, and we also put plus sign between two products. But this is very important point, that we write reactants on left hand side and we write product on right hand side, and in between reactant and product we put an arrow. So what is the mean of arrow? The mean of arrow is produce or give. So we always put arrow between the reactant and the product. For example, magnesium plus H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. So these are reactants. So these are written in left hand side, and the plus sign between magnesium and sulfuric acid, it means they are going to react each other. And arrow between reactants and products, you can see. So MgSO4 plus H2 is product. So this is reactant and this is product, and in between there is a arrow. So this is the chemical equation, and you can understand how we write the chemical equation. So this is the format of write the chemical equation. Now we come to the next topic, balanced equation. So what is the balanced equation? Balanced equation means number of atoms on the reactant side should be equal to the number of atoms on product side. If there is a balanced equation, so number of atom on reactant side always equal to the number of atoms on the product side. The chemical equation in which number of atom of each element equal on both sides is called balance equation. So it is very easy, means the number of atom on reactant side will be equal to the number of atoms on product side. Like example, you can see calcium carbonate CaCO3 plus hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, what will form? Calcium chloride plus water plus carbon dioxide. So you can see the number of atoms on the reactant side. Calcium, there is a 1 atom, carbonate 1 atom, there is a 2 atom of hydrogen and 2 atom of chlorine. In product side, 1 atom of calcium equal 2 atom of chlorine, 2 atom of chlorine equal, then H2, 2 atom of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, clear, then CO2, 2 atom of oxygen. So you can see in this example, you can count the number of atom on the reactant side is equal number of atom on the product side. You can calculate number of atoms and you can find both sides the number of atoms are equal. So this is the example of balanced equation. Then significance of a chemical equation. What is the significance of chemical equation? The chemical equation has qualitative as well as quantitative. Qualitatively, it represents the name of the reactant and products. Quantitatively, it represents the relative number of molecules of reactants and products, the relative number of mole of reactant and products, the relative masses of the reactants and product, the relative volume of gaseous reactants and product. So these all are the information which we take by chemical equation. So this is the significance of chemical equation. All these information we can get from a chemical equation. The next topic is balancing a chemical equation. How do we balance a chemical equation? If we have any equation, so how we are going to balance it? So and the most important question is that why we balance chemical equation? Why it is necessary to balance the chemical equation? Because if we don't balance the chemical equation, so it violates the law of conservation of mass. So to follow the law of conservation of mass, we balance the equation. What is the law of conservation of mass? Matter neither be created nor be destroyed. It always changes the state and the mass will be constant. So to follow the law of conservation of mass, we balance the chemical equation. Balance means be equal the number of atom on both sides of the equation. So there are different methods for balancing the chemical equation, like hit and trial method, partial equation method, oxidation number method, ion electron method, algebraic method. So there are so many methods which you are going to be study in senior classes. So in this class you have only one method, hit and trial method, because this is very simple and common method and it is used in most of the reaction. So this is the simplest method, hit and trial method. So we are going to learn hit and trial method. So let's see the method, hit and trial method. How do we balance the equation by hit and trial method? So there is an example, you can see potassium chlorate, that is KClO3. So what will form? KCl plus O2, potassium chloride plus oxygen. So let's see this equation. This is balanced equation or not? So we count the atoms. Potassium, there is one atom. On product side there is one atom. Chlorine, there is one atom. On product side there is one atom. Oxygen, there is 3 atom. On product side there is 2 atom. So oxygen atom is not balanced. The number of oxygen atom is different on both of the side. So this is not a balanced equation. If there is any equation given to you, you can count the atom on both the side and you can find out the equation is balanced or not. So this equation is not balanced because on reactant side there is 3 oxygen atom and on product side there is 2 oxygen atom. So to balance the equation, we multiply the equation with numbers to balance the equation. Like in this example, we multiply potassium chlorate with twice. So what will happen? Potassium chloride plus thrice O2. This is also not balanced. So in the next step, what will we do? Potassium chloride, then twice KCl. We multiply potassium chloride with 2 plus thrice O2. So now the equation is balanced. You can count the atom on both of the side. So to balance the equation, we multiply the equation by some numerals. So by multiply the equation with numerals, we balance the equation. So this is called hit and trial method. We balance the atoms. The atoms should be equal on both of the side. So first we count the atom and which atoms are different, we will go to balance them by multiply with them numerals. So this is the procedure of hit and trial method. With the help of example, you can understand. Then the next topic is limitations or drawback of chemical equation. We know everything has pros and cons. Everything has benefit as well as drawbacks. So chemical equations, limitation or drawbacks. The first point is the physical state of the reactant and product. So we don't know the physical state of the reactant and product by chemical equation. About the reversibility of the reaction, so the reaction is reversible or irreversible, it is not confirmed by the chemical equation. The condition necessary for reaction to occur, all of you know that when there is chemical reaction, so there are certain conditions like heat, light, which is necessary to complete the reaction. So by look the chemical equation, we can't get this information. The concentration of the solution of the reactant and products, yeah, the reactant and products concentration, whether they are Kong or diluted, this cannot be done. The heat changes during chemical reaction, whether any precipitate is formed or not in chemical reaction. If any precipitate is going to form, we don't know by chemical equation. Time taken by the reaction for completion, the rate at which the reaction take place, the extent up to which the reaction take place, the mechanism of the reaction, whether any catalyst is used or not. So there is any catalyst is used or not. We can't get all these information by chemical equation. So this is the limitations of the chemical equation. The next topic is removal of drawbacks of a chemical reaction. In previous slide we have seen that there are certain limitations or drawbacks of the chemical reaction, but in this time we are trying to remove the drawbacks of the chemical equation in the following ways. The physical state of the reactant and product can be indicated by using the symbols, like we use symbol S for solid, L for liquid and G for gas, and AQ for aqueous solution. So in this way we can come out of that limitation. In this reaction you can see zinc plus hydrochloric acid. So there is written S in the bracket. It means zinc in the solid state. And HCl, the AQ is written in bracket. It means HCl is in aqueous state. It's a solution. Then what will form? Zinc chloride. So zinc chloride again aqueous solution because AQ is written. Then H2 and G is written. It means H2 gas is liberated in this reaction. So you can see we can write the symbols to indicate the physical state of the reactants and products. The next drawback is the condition necessary for the reaction to occur are represented to arrow between the reactant and product. So in last slide we have seen that we can't mention the condition in chemical reaction. So to come out from this drawback, we can write the condition on the arrow. Like in this reaction you can see iron and sulfur and they will form iron sulfide. So the physical state is also written here. Iron is solid, sulfur is solid and iron sulfide is also solid. And we can write condition on the arrow, heat. Heat is the condition. It means heat is necessary to complete this reaction. And the third point, the concentration of the solution of reactants can be indicated by writing DIL for dilute and CONC, Kong for concentrated solution. So we can write DIL for dilute solution and Kong for concentrated solution. So in this example you can see copper, it is in solid state, plus H2SO4. You have seen that below the H2SO4 CONC is written here. It means Kong. It means we have taken Kong H2SO4 or concentrated H2SO4. So Kong is the short form of the concentrated. So by see the reaction you can understand the solution is diluted or the solution is concentrated. So how can we make the dilute solution? When we add water in the solution, so it will become dilute. Means the quantity of water is more in that solution, so the solution is diluted. So here the H2SO4 is Kong, then we heat, what will form? Copper sulfate aqueous solution, sulfur dioxide gas, means sulfur dioxide will be in the form of gas, then water, so water will be in the liquid state. So by the symbols and by the symbols we can understand the solution is dilute or concentrated and physical state of the reactant and product and the condition, what condition is necessary to complete the product. Then we come to the next point. The heat changes during a reaction are indicated by writing plus Qj and minus Qj along with the product for exothermic and endothermic reaction. So all of you know that what is exothermic and what is endothermic reaction. The chemical reaction in which energy is given out or energy is liberated, we say the reaction is exothermic, and the reaction in which energy is absorbed, the reaction is endothermic. So in exothermic the energy is given out and endothermic the energy is absorbed. So we indicate this by writing this. Like in this example you can see hydrogen plus oxygen, they will form water H2O plus 572 kilojoule energy will be liberated. If there is plus sign, that means energy is released. If there is minus sign, that means energy is absorbed in the reaction. So by see the sign you can understand that energy is given out or energy is absorbed. Then we come to the 5 point. The evolution of gas can be indicated by putting an arrow pointing upwards. If you have seen in any reaction that the arrow pointing upwards, so it means the liberation of the gas or the evolution of the gas. In this example, zinc plus H2SO4, below H2SO4 you can see DIL is written. It means it is dilute H2SO4. DIL is the short form of dilute, and H2SO4 is aqueous solution, zinc in solid state. When they are going to react, they will form zinc sulfate, aqueous solution of zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas. G is written, so we can understand that hydrogen in the form of gas, or there is an arrow pointing upward. It means there is a evolution of gas in this reaction because there is a pointing arrow pointing upwards. So keep it in the mind, it is very important. How can you understand the reaction by the symbols? The next point, the formation of a precipitate is indicated by putting an arrow pointing downwards. So in this reaction you can see silver nitrate plus sodium chloride. So what will form? Silver chloride, and there is a short form PPT is written under silver chloride. So what is the means of PPT? It means precipitate. So if any precipitate is formed in reaction, we write it PPT and we show it by arrow pointing downwards. Arrow pointing upwards, we show evolution of gas. Arrow pointing downwards, we show that there is a formation of precipitate plus sodium nitrate. So these are the symbols and formulas which we represent the chemical reaction. So keep it in the mind, it is very important. Then the next thing is reversible or irreversible reaction. How do we come to know that the reaction is reversible or irreversible? So for come out that limitation, in chemical reaction there are two arrows. So double-headed arrows, two double-headed arrows. This shows that the reaction is reversible. So if the reaction is reversible, you can see there are two double-headed arrows. Like this example, nitrogen plus oxygen, then nitrogen oxide will form, and this is reversible reaction. Why? Because there is a two double-headed arrows. This shows that this is the reversible reaction. Then the rate of reaction can be indicated by writing slow or fast. How can we denote the rate of reaction? So we can write slow or fast. Like twice NO plus O2, twice NO2, this is fast. Twice CO plus O2, that is twice CO2, slow. So by writing fast and slow, we denote the rate of reaction. So by this we come out the limitations of the chemical equation. So these are the all the chapter, and these all are the drawbacks. How can we come out from the limitation of the chemical equation? So students, here we are closing the chapter 5. All topics I have covered. Please go through this carefully and try to understand the new terms which we use in this chapter, because this is very important chapter and this is the fundamental chapter. In senior classes you will going to study in detail. So try to learn the new concept, the new terms which we use in this chapter, and go through it carefully. And I hope all of you have completed your previous work. So do your work on time. Take care. Thank you. Have a nice day.